Mo Maha, Mo problems. There we go. There we go. I thought of that one this morning. That was a
Mo
good, like
Maha
that.
or no Maha. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how I again it's another situation where we have this like kind of dysfunctional relationship with something that we want so bad, and we're in kind of in this semi-abusive situation where we're like, oh, did he change? Did they oh, he's not gonna beat me up anymore. You know, it's the battered wife. I think he's had a change. So look, I'm not saying it's as bad. Like the Maha people, they're not beating the crap out of us, but they do tend to make us feel like something big's gonna happen. And it's like this kind of 5 steps forward, 4.5 steps back. And then we have to be okay with the little half. And I think those are the breadcrumbs. So this story broke last week. And I definitely want your take on this, Jay, because we covered this when Trump announced on his Truth Social that Casey Means was officially going to be the nomination as our Surgeon General. Casey has an impeccable Maha credentials and will work closely with our wonderful HHS Secretary RFK Jr. to ensure a successful implementation of our agenda in order to reverse the chronic disease epidemic. And he goes on from there. Now, look, that's a big deal. The chronic disease epidemic is it's probably the main priority right now of RFK, other than stopping anti-Semitism on campuses. But we've covered that one. That's also a big health concern, apparently. But the chronic disease epidemic, this isn't exactly why a lot of Maha people voted for Trump. There was another element that's not on the table right now, and it was the vaccine situation where we want to get mRNA off the shelves, out of the vaccine schedule. Those are the things that I think a lot of people got on board for, and there doesn't seem to be much indication of that even happening. And so I just want to put a couple of these tweets that came up regarding this appointee. Kale Max says Casey Means in her mediocre rise onto the best podcast, best-selling book, tip of everyone's lips, came out of nowhere. That was the plan all along. Her daddy working for a Rockefeller is just icing on the cake. Can't believe how many people, and she's saying the people are the over-optimistic Maha people are lapping this up. Well, I can, because that's how it works. We get excited when we see something like that, and we want to hope for the best. So I understand it. I get it. I know we want to have Dr. Mary on with us hopefully soon. She's saying all the people celebrating Casey Means, give it a month, see if she continues to sit in silence while millions of children continue to get the shots. I hope I'm wrong, but she has yet to speak out. And so that's and then this is Health Ranger. One more of these. The entire emergence of Casey Means was engineered by a public relations group. She's not a health freedom advocate. She's not a vaccine truther. She'll never recommend natural cancer cures or remedies. She's basically cosplaying as a Maha champion. In reality, she's an establishment pick, and she'll push the establishment narrative 100% guaranteed. Count on it. I want to get your thoughts on this, Jay. Are you as skeptical as these folks here, or do you see there's any sort of hope that something is good about this new appointee?
Well, let's start out with the good first. So the good is that, Casey does clearly have an understanding about how doctors are, pushed towards pharmaceutical outcomes. So I think some of those criticisms might be a little bit, harsh, but in particular that last one, because if you look at, what her book is about, her book is essentially about how big pharma, treats the symptoms, of each disease rather than trying to get to the root causes of diseases that are happening in our bodies. So, maybe there could be a shift in at least the conversation that people are having with their doctors, depending on how successful she is and if she really pursues that or not. However, what I fear most about Casey, and of course I'm going to end with the vaccine part, so I'm getting to that. But other than that, what I fear most about Casey Means is that she seems to be advocating for wearable technology to track biomarkers and it's going to be stored on a centralized server, to the best of my knowledge. So I'm not against knowing what's going on in your body. What I'm against is the government having full access to know every single thing that's happening in a person's body at all times. And if we're going to start talking about, tracking this data, I would like to hear a simultaneous conversation about decentralized IDs where people have control over how their information is used and shared at the same time. Because if we don't have control over our data and there is no digital bill of rights that's passed before we get something like wearable technology being rolled out to the public, then essentially the government and the corporations that control it are going to have full, real-time views into what's happening in our bodies if the types of technology that she seems to be promoting, do wind up coming through. So I'm worried about personal privacy and how that could be abused. And finally, of course, they won't say the quiet part out loud. Like, how are you talking about making America healthy again? However, you're not addressing the biggest cause in the spike in excess deaths that has happened in the last 3 years. And yes, chronic disease is way up from where it was, say, when Kennedy was a kid. So I agree that that is also a huge issue that needs to be tackled. But like Dr. Bowden, Mary Bowden, just pointed out, this is an immediate concern. The technology is still being invested in, and governments like the UK government and the Australian government have both just built gigantic mRNA factories in their countries. We have building gigantic mRNA factories in our countries, and they're talking about it as a technology that can fix everything. However, what I haven't heard from them? No one is discussing the possible applications of ivermectin, in fighting cancer. No one is discussing. I've seen some articles about how ketosis might actually help starve cancer and fight it. I'm not hearing Kennedy or Casey or the Jay Bhattacharya talk about any of this stuff. I'm not hearing them mention the fact that Dr. Sebi was not able to be put in jail despite saying that he could cure cancer and AIDS and all these other diseases. And he said he was doing it with diet and fasting. Why aren't we looking more into that case? If it's really about making America healthy again, why aren't we pursuing and talking out loud about the non-pharmaceutical options? Because the first step is raising awareness that there are actual other solutions out there, right? And that's going to cause people to start looking into it more. But you can't just pop up one day and say, I have the solution, here it is. You got to talk about it, let it marinate for a little, and then the people are going to come along with you and push for it also. So they're not being specific really in their solutions. A lot of them have proposed a solution, aka this wearable technology, this tracking technology to track your biomarkers, without talking about the privacy concerns behind it. And, even something as simple as, okay, well, first of all, let's acknowledge how we got here. Now, I'm not putting all the blame on Republicans for the chronic disease crisis. However, if you really want to be honest, in your experience, Matt, which party is the party that pushes for more deregulation? Is it the Democrats or the Republicans? Really quick, what do you think?
Oh, it's the Republicans that
okay. So if it's the Republicans, and we know we got a bunch more crap in our food and our environment than other countries where there's less chronic disease, and the Republican Party is now the party talking about make America healthy, how about a little self-awareness, and talking about how we got here, right? And if we're really serious about solving that problem, let's talk about, okay, well, maybe we should clean up the environment. Maybe we should start really regulating the pesticides and name the pesticides. And I haven't heard that part of the conversation happen either. So let's see.
It's bizarre that there's neither party has self-reflection ability, because the Democrats are doing the opposite. They're like, leave our good-natured pharma people alone. They're trying their best. They were looking out for our health during COVID. How dare you regulate them? And you're like, that's not.
And Trump is like, let's invest in them. And Trump's thinking, he's like, let's invest in them.
They're like, Bill Gates is a true philanthropist who cares about us. It's like, dude, like, that's not how the thing is supposed. The Reaganomics is the Reaganomics. It's not democraticnomics. But I guess we discovered, Jay, at the end of the day, we discovered that it's all one big psyop. On they just they trick people to be in their little camps. But ultimately, the corporatists are going to control everything anyways, and they're just giving us little storylines to get excited about and get angry and afraid about, and have little celebratory moments on one side, and the other side being all afraid. I'm going to leave the country, but it's the same shit. So again, it's another sign that there was never a two-party system to begin with, and this is a great example of why that is the case. So let's look a little closer at this. I don't know if you saw Nicole Shanahan's tweet about this. This is what got my attention. I'm going to read this directly from her tweet, and let's break this down. And then, because we know that Casey Means' brother.
I know what you're talking about.
What's that? Do you know about the tweet?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna let's read it for people that don't know, and I'm gonna talk about this because this concerns, as Doc Brown from Back to the Future would say, this doesn't just concern you, it concerns your brother too. No, it's Casey and her brother are both being implicated here. So here we go. Nicole Shanahan, as you guys know, was RFK Jr.'s running mate as the independent candidate, and then I guess came along for the Maha ride for the end of the Trump campaign. And so she says, yes, it's very strange. Doesn't make any sense. I was promised that if I supported RFK Jr. in his Senate confirmation, that neither of these siblings, that's Casey and Calley Means, would be working under HHS or in an appointment, and that there were people much more qualified to be. I don't know if RFK very clearly lied to me or what is going on. It has been clear in recent conversations that he is reporting to someone regularly who is controlling his decisions, and it isn't President Trump. With regards to those siblings, there's something very artificial and aggressive about them, almost like they were bred and raised, and that bottom part is Manchurian assets. Let me show you so everyone can see.
So leave that tweet up when we talk about it.
What's that?
I said leave that tweet up because there's a few different parts in that really jump out at me.
Break it down for us, Jay.
So I find it hard to believe that Nicole Shanahan was promised that at that time, because she actually had kind words to say about Calley and Casey Means in the past. And I don't have the tweet here, but if you look it up, she actually said nice things about them, like during the campaign and all that. So I find it very hard to believe, number one, that she was even asking for that at that point in time. And then number two, I find it even stranger that she's saying that Trump has nothing to do with any of this, because on the one hand, she didn't endorse President Trump. However, on the other hand, she's refusing to recognize Trump's huge financial ties to Big Pharma. Did she not see the press conference where Larry Ellison, stood beside Trump and announced that they're going to invest in all this mRNA technology to solve cancer? I know I saw it. So why would you assume
that was day two? Yeah.
That was day two. So why would you assume that Trump is all of a sudden immune from the influence of Big Pharma? So, and then number three, when she says that they're aggressive, they're not aggressive, man. Like if you look at the interview between Mary Bowden, Jack Kruse, and what's his name, and Casey Means, Jack Kruse was the most aggressive person in the interview. And I'm not saying that was wrong. I think it's a issue that deserves a lot of passion, but Casey Means just responded to that. They're not aggressive, in my opinion. Now, I do think they are somewhat artificial. I have my questions about them. And like I said, I don't trust them. but I wouldn't necessarily describe them as aggressive. But maybe she's right about them being, trained as Manchurian assets. But my biggest thing is, if you're not going to get specific in your criticisms, then how are we really going to solve the problems? If you won't say that the deregulation and putting all the poison in our environment is the problem, this is who did it, and this is how, we're going to fix it. Like, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they're actually serious about fixing that, because guess what? Republicans are still taking money from all those interests, and Democrats are also taking money from those interests to be the controlled opposition on this side, on this topic. So, I personally have difficulty trusting them because they're not being specific in their criticisms and they're not saying the quiet part out loud.
Okay. Well, look, Jay, I appreciate your take on this. Nicole does need to be a little more clear about this, but maybe it's our job to piggyback on what she's doing. You brought up this podcast. I think it's important to see a clip from this. I actually pulled one here, and I'm glad you did bring it up. It's the Danny Jones podcast. This is with Dr. Bowden. We hope we get her on the show with us. I'd love to have a conversation with her. Dr. Kruse is very he takes up the most space in this. This is just a little clip from this. This was a long podcast. We do long form podcasts. That's what we do. That's in these aren't little tiny 1 minute appearances and then cut to a commercial to Pfizer. These are long conversations. So these moments, when they happen, we want to know about it. So here's a moment from the podcast where I would say, before we play it, I would say this is a revealing moment. You don't, whether you call the guy aggressive or not, this is the brother. This is Calley on there talking about the mRNA shot, and he's asked directly if he would pull it from the market. And let's hear his response.
Feel like the COVID shot should be pulled off the market? Yes or no?
I'll give you my personal opinion. I think there should be absolutely no mandates.
So
yes. Hold on.
Okay.
I think that we have an opportunity in the next year to truly reset science. This is what I feel. And we have an opportunity to have Jay Bhattacharya, who's a close friend, who I, strongly push to be at the NIH, to call everyone together, review the science, have truth and reconciliation, bring that out to people, and have a process for that.
Okay. So
I think it's a general. So Jack.
So the answer is no. So the answer is no.
Right.
That is a policy position that I'm calling for the COVID shots to be immediately pulled from the market.
No, you're not answering the question. You're doing exactly what your training has told you to do.
Hold on, Jack.
That's the reason we're sitting here.
Jack. I am saying that as a policy position, I think that we should have absolute data transparency, no mandates.
We have too much data.
Okay,
Danny just had Kevin McKiernan on the damn podcast. Let me talk.
Jack,
you let me talk now.
Hold on.
You let me talk.
Let me ask you a question. And this is not like a debate. I don't see this as a debate. I actually legitimately.
I don't think it's a debate either.
Hold on, Jack. Why are you so angry?
Because I don't trust you.
Okay.
I think you're full of shit. And Mary just uncovered why you're full of shit. Because you can't say yes or no. Let me just tell you something, Calley. When you say to the American public that my children can't have the shot, so we can't say anything for anybody else, to me, that's incongruent.
So you would argue that Trump and Biden should come out, Trump and RFK should come out with an immediate ban of the COVID shot today?
Absolutely. It should have been done a long time ago.
My point was
your recommendation?
It should have happened with Operation Warp Speed.
It should have happened in the first month.
Correct.
I think as a policy process, we need it. We need to have truth and reconciliation.
Let's talk about the policy process of the swine flu when we had 70 vaccine injured kids and we pulled it off the market.
Hold on. What is the debate? I'm saying there should be an immediate review of the data.
That's not the answer.
I'm giving my answer.
Yeah, Jack. But that's not the answer.
Jack, that interview aged well. That interview aged pretty well because exactly what Jack and Mary were predicting would happen is what happened.
It's as clear as day. He's not answering the question. He says immediate review. Immediate review is that's a oxymoron. That doesn't what immediate means action. It doesn't mean look over shit. So he's giving something that's not he's trying to pretend it's something that it's like action oriented. It's not action oriented. We have the information. Pull the damn thing. Swine flu was a great example. So So here we are. Exactly right, Jay. They predicted it. So we could say, oh, they were the podcasters were the more aggressive ones in the room. It's like he didn't let them finish their statements. He was interrupting too. He wasn't as loud, but he was interrupting. He was maneuvering, and it was like, I don't trust you because you can't answer this damn question. Jay, does this change your reflection on this at all? Or I know it's complicated. I get it. There's a lot of layers to this, but this question, if you think you should pull something that has done so much damage and you can't answer that question, what the hell is going on? Isn't Nicole Shanahan onto something in that tweet after all?
Yeah, I do agree. With Nicole Shanahan, like the essence of the tweet. Like I do agree with the essence of the tweet. My biggest issue with the tweet is the fact that she's not assigning any agency to Trump in this process, and she's pretending like what's happening is completely outside of Trump, and Trump isn't aligned with the same interests. Like whether or not there are additional people involved, like Trump is clearly aligned, in my opinion, with those same interests. So, like I would say she's right about the essence of it, that these two aren't to be trusted, because in my opinion, I find it hard to support someone in any public health office if they can't admit like what has happened like over the past few years. And like, Jack pointed out, if they pulled the swine flu shot after 70 deaths over like a month or two, and we passed 70 deaths in like a week or two with the COVID shot, and then it went sky high, and there were like, we broke, I want to say, if you look at all the adverse incidents reported to VAERS before the COVID shot, the COVID shot alone in the span of 2 years had something like 7 times more than all of the adverse effects that were reported for all shots for the entirety of the time that system has existed. That's combine all the shots and multiply it by 6 or 7. And it's more than that for the COVID shot. So it's like the evidence is there. If you were truly like looking at everything Kennedy said, shedding light on this topic before he took this position, for him not to immediately pull the shots tells me that something else is going on.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm gonna back up, Nicole, just one more on this, because when I saw this tweet, I was thinking the thing she's not saying is because she can't say it, Jay. I suspect deep down, and maybe it's subconscious, maybe she doesn't even know this is in her consciousness. It might be way, way down inside her. When she said, I don't think she's giving a free pass to Trump. What she's suggesting with this tweet, is that Trump and RFK aren't deliberately lying. They are being controlled. Who are they being controlled by? Who's whispering in their ear? I think I think it's a name that starts with the letter I and rhymes with Smizrael. That's my take, but I don't think we're allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I think that would probably be the level above Israel, in my opinion. I think, you have secret societies that are kind of pulling those strings. And if I had to guess who was doing, and I think Big Pharma is one camp, Israel is one camp, the defense industry is one camp. I think there's another level above those camps. And I think those are the people who ultimately Trump is answering to, but they're all aligned, with the same interests. So I wouldn't say, you're wrong in assuming that Israel is that country is complicit and has elements that are complicit, because a lot of the people put, into positions of power in the COVID response do happen to be rabid Zionists. So, so that is an interesting coincidence. But again, in my opinion, I just think there's another level above that. But, I'll be honest, like, there are things I like about Nicole Shanahan, and I haven't necessarily written her off. And I know this segment isn't about her, but really quick, my biggest issue with her is that she was married to the founder of Google for a long time. And I've never once heard her talk about a digital bill of rights and issues with privacy concerns. So, you know, if you're that close to the problem, that problem, and you know that problem exists, like, I would like to hear a little bit more of your opinion about that problem. It's like if someone from a military contractor came out and spoke about all these issues that I agree with them on, but then they won't say anything about foreign policy, then I would have some questions, you know, like about whether or not I can really trust them. And that's kind of how I feel about, you know, Nicole Shanahan. Although, like I said, I have an open mind. I'm willing to be proven wrong. So, but I think I hadn't actually thought about that aspect of it. What you were saying, that maybe she's saying that RFK and Trump are being controlled by the same people. So maybe I was a little bit too harsh on her.
That's exactly what she's saying. She's saying they're not just nefariously being horrible to me. They don't have any power they don't have the power that we think they do. That's and I think that's the takeaway for me, that when I first, that's what I was thinking. That's the thing. So you, on one hand, she can't be specific. On another hand, there's a reason she's not being specific. So it's like, just throwing it out there. It's either one or the other. He either lied or she, okay, three things. Either he lied, he's being controlled, maybe by the same thing Trump is together, or she's lying. So somebody's lying or someone's being controlled. That's it. That's all. It's very vague, but that's what we're dealing with here. We're not dealing with an honest setup here. And that's what comes back to the Maha problems, is because every time we see another unfolding in this camp, we get our hopes up, we get disappointed, and we go, there it is. I feel like it happens all the time. And I'll end with this. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden did put this out and said, look, and I don't have it in front of me, but I have it on the notes. So she did mention Dr. Weldon. We covered when Dr. Weldon was switched out. She says, look, when people are actually working on vaccine safety and really working on getting mRNA taken care of and getting it off the shelves, they don't make it to the team. Dr. Weldon was switched out because of, and she puts it this way, his crime, Dr. Weldon's crime, was raising concerns 20 years ago about vaccine safety. And that's why he was tossed aside. So and you're going to see that the only people that make it are people that are willing to put that aside, so big pharma can continue what they're doing with their.
And really quick, I'd encourage all the viewers to go to her page, and donate to her if you have anything, because right now she's being dragged through the legal system and sued by her former employer because she didn't comply with the COVID shots. And in my opinion, we have to really support all the doctors who are willing to, speak truth to power on that specific issue. So I don't normally tell people to go give money to a certain cause, but I think it's important that we do support doctors that tell the truth.